The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission has warned intending pilgrims to Israel against absconding during this year's pilgrimage. Reverend Yakubu Pam gave the warning at Yola International Airport during the official airlifting of over 270 pilgrims from Taraba and Gombe states. He said measures have been put in place to ensure that absconders are arrested and prosecuted.
Of Nigeria. So many of you, when you travel there, you are not mindful of the image of both yourself and your country. I want you to be proud of being a Nigerian. When you are out there, you will see people coming to see this uniform. They have never seen it this way. Seeing people wearing the same uniform. They will be admiring you. They will try to ask you, where are you from? Be proud of Nigeria. So when you're there, you're no more a Taraba or you're no more a Gombe, you are a Nigerian. And so please, whatever you do there, do not speak of even your name or your state, but speak of the country.
And so our journey, I will say, we want to go and face it once and for all. You know, it's prayer matter we are going for. We have prayed enough. We want to go and see it one-on-one. We want to pray for the state, pray for the governor, so that the forthcoming election will be a very peaceful one.
His Excellency said we should pray for Nigeria and we should pray for Taraba. Number one, so that during the election we should be able to elect the right person that will lead us to another level.
One of our prayer points is to ensure that God should protect Nigeria during the 2023 general election.
Well, it's a season to be jolly, but not for every Nigerian, as lingering fuel queues replace Christmas lights in most states in Nigeria. Although the situation varies from state to state, one thing remains constant. Petrol isn't cheap.
Not at all.
Well, we have a RISE analyst, Frank Tietie, joining us now in the studios to look at this, but maybe during the course of the discussion, hopefully would have Onye Sunday's report on that from across the state. Welcome, very warm welcome, and we're still in the Christmas season, but not a jolly good one for a lot of Nigerians. The price discrepancies, the non-availability of the product, you know, when people want it, you sell. I think it's only in Abuja that the price is 180 naira per litre.
At least below 200.
Below 200.
Against what
anywhere
elsewhere.
outside Abuja is from 250. In Sapele, my hometown, it is 280 naira they buy. And I'm sure if I move to your own place in Ughelli, you go to Port Harcourt, it's as much as 300 naira. What's
and I
going
wonder
on?
how much it is in Mbise.
If we ask the wrong questions, we'll get the wrong answers.
Okay.
I think we should first and foremost direct the right answers to the people who are responsible. And they're not even talking. I'm talking about the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. We forget that we have transited, in terms of our petroleum governance in this country, we've transited majorly, significantly with the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act. You know, so it's easy. You know, when you talk about crisis in the petroleum sector in terms of distribution of petroleum product, everybody turns its eyes to, you know, the NMDPRA. But that's not the case.
They've even washed off their hands, you know, in this matter, because they say, look, we bring fuel and distribute to the marketers at 148 naira per litre.
It is both a matter of fact and a matter of law. That NMPC, with the transition, with the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act, NMPC is now a private company and has a responsibility to ensure that there is energy security in this country. Although, so what it does, you know, NMPC keeps making that statement that cannot be faulted, that at every point in time, where people say that there is a fuel crisis, it has always had supplies for more than 30 days. That is, if you go by the 60 to 65 million liters, evacuation, daily evacuation ratio. So the NMDPRA absolutely, practically does not have anything to do with the fuel situation.
Yeah, but Ipman will continue to tell you that, look, the problem is distribution. And they want access to distribution. They want to be able to distribute themselves.
So there seems to be, an elephant in the room that nobody wants to mention, and that is the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the authority in the Petroleum Industry Act. It's not saying anything. It has a practical responsibility.
They don't even come up with any statements. It shows great incompetence from the leadership of that
responsibility.
agency.
Its objective is to ensure the availability of petroleum products, especially PMS, together with natural gas. It has a further responsibility, and if you go on to Section 32 of that Act, it has 47 functions, which include the pricing and the formulation of the pricing, and then it goes on to dealing with the practical issues of distribution, marketing, making the products available, and then it also grants licenses. That is, it is the regulator. Some time ago you heard the DSS issuing statement. That statement ought not to have come from the DSS.
It ought not to have come, but Frank,
from the authority.
Let me draw your attention to this.
Should have.
Hold on.
We say have a minister of petroleum.
Hold on.
In the president.
Let those who are responsible deal with the issues.
On. Is it surprising to you, or did it surprise you any at all, that after the DSS ordered the filling stations to ensure that they sell, within a couple of days, the queues actually disappeared, at least in Abuja. At least in Abuja.
So first of all, let us dissect that situation.
Right.
The DSS ought not to. But a frustrated but responsible, security organization like DSS would wonder when NMPC Limited has done its own part by making available the products for distribution, yet they're not distributing, marketing and pricing issues, whereas by law, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority ought to have taken responsibility for that, ought to have even sanctioned those marketers, sanctioned anybody within the chain in the midstream and downstream sector that is frustrating the distribution of petroleum products. It did not do so, but because of absolute responsibility that the DSS owes the Nigerian state, it made that statement. Of course, as a matter of fact, you saw that they responded initially, but but they also know they know that the DSS wouldn't withdraw their license.
Right.
The authority that could withdraw the licenses of the marketers that is supposed to is quiet. So as citizens, and we intend to take this very seriously. When we see that you can't be a statutory body created by law with giving all the paraphernalia of state and government to do your responsibility, to carry out your duty, and you do not, frustrating Nigerians, and then you point the fingers in the wrong direction. I mean, we should be educated with on the Petroleum Industry Act. It is not the NMPC, it's an equivalent of a Saudi Aramco, and we're looking at a perpetual company, a company that's perpetually, in the past, before it transformed into a company now that has been registered under the Company and Allied Matters Act, like every other private company, and it's doing its job well. Because if you see the provisions of Section 53 of the Petroleum Industry Act, giving clear indications that the NMPC operates as a commercial venture owned by the federal. Majority of its shares owned by the federal government. It operates with a board of directors. So it's all it does is to ensure that there is energy security, and it goes anywhere in the world, wherever it is, to ensure that it gets petroleum products for Nigerians. And then it's the business of those who are meant to distribute or to do market and store these products. And there is a regulator that is not doing anything about it.
Right. So that point has been made very clear. The issue of smugglers, those who take this petrol across the Nigerian borders. We've heard from experts say that Nigeria is actually paying
the chief of naval
for
staff
petrol
said so much.
in neighboring countries. 65 million liters a day. That in itself has been questioned over and over again.
But about it, of course, the NMPC has stood by that. NMPC Limited has stood by those figures, which have also been verified by the MBS, together with the said authority that we're talking about that is not doing its job. And when you talk about petroleum, that's purely a security matter. But again, if you look at the large, number of functions that have been given to the authority in the Petroleum Industry Act, one would wonder that why it is not answering these questions, and why should citizens be at sea and then turn to the wrong, wrong institution? In this case, a private company now, NMPC Limited, which has nothing to do with it at all. So we expect that the issue of smuggling should be dealt with by the security agencies. But again, the real problem, which you alluded to in the initial stage of this conversation, is that of pricing. And then we're talking about the authority that has the mandate to bring out a framework for pricing. I mean, considering whatever circumstances, we're a large country, whatever it is, but let's have the framework. Let's have the pricing formula, which it's supposed to provide. It is not. Whereas NMPC is clear-cut on it. It has its own dealings with however it brings the product into this country. But ex-depot, the price is 148.17 kobo.
Right.
So it does that, and there is no dispute to that effect. So why can't the average Nigerian, or what is the problem where you now have such wide disparities in price? And so the authority has a lot of questions to answer.
So the problem, the real challenge,
the National Assembly must call itself to order by questioning the authority that it created to manage the downstream and midstream sector that is actually collapsing. And I mean, Nigerians can't take it anymore.
Right. The question we continue to ask, how come we can't get petrol in the filling stations, but all across the streets, all around the streets, you find those young men and women.
That collusion and the is as a result of a dereliction of duty. And I believe that if the authority rises up to this occasion, this will be resolved. I believe, you see, we're not asking them questions, and the president is not directing them to do the appropriate thing. And we still keep on wrongly directing attention to NMPC Limited, which is a commercial company. All it wants now is to make profit, and it's doing its job very well. It goes to look for petroleum product wherever in the world. It brings it to Nigeria, and then it's not his business to regulate. It's no longer a regulator.
Then an agency is being docile and just
we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Nigerians.